So this is lesson 4.1 in pre-algebra. The section is called decimal notation and place value. So we're going to do some reviewing on decimal numbers. And we're going to start out with, we're going to use 1 as kind of our focus point. That is what everything else is going to be dependent on. And when we increase the size of a number, we just add a 0 to it. So our next column is our tens, and then the next column we add another 0, we add another 0, and we just keep going, and we'll just stop at the 10,000ths place. So when we have a number that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits long, it looks like, say, 23,465. So this is our ones position. There's our tens. There's our hundreds. There's our thousands. There's our 10,000s. So we have 5 digits there because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 place values. When we're dealing with decimals, it works very similar to what we just did when we have numbers greater than 1. But this time we're going to go to the right. And we'll just go over 5 places there as well. So there's always going to be a decimal right there to the right of the 1. And just like we put a 0 on the 1 there, when we go over 1 this way, we put a 0 on the 1 there, and a 100, and a 1,000, and a 10,000. Whoa, I'm going to run out of room here. And then 100,000. Okay, the only difference is there's a 1 here, and these become fractions. 1 over 10, 1 over 100, 1 over 1,000, 1 over 10,000, 1 over 100,000. So when we are naming these numbers, you don't have any problem naming a number with 4 digits in the thousands place, 4,321, because there's our ones place, our tens, our hundreds, and our thousands place. So you know you start out with 4,000. Very similar when we're talking about naming decimals. Let's say we have 0.3675. So we are over 4 decimal places. So we call that 3,675 10,000ths with a TH spit at the end. You got to make sure you spit at the end. 10,000ths. Okay, so that's 3,675 10,000ths. It's not and 10,000ths, it's just 10,000ths. The decimal here, when you say this decimal, or when you say a decimal, whenever you come to the decimal point, you use the word and. So if I have 23.3675, I can say 23.3675. In fact, I usually do. But the more correct way of saying it is 23 and, meaning decimal, 3,675 10,000ths. And that's just when I want to spit on people, I say the 10,000ths. But 23.3675 works just fine. So the key thing here in this lesson is not necessarily how to say all of this. It's how to write it and how to communicate your math with everything else that you're doing. So that's what we're trying to do here. I'm going to skip example 1 and skip example 2 and 3 and 4. Let's go ahead and go to example number 6. The rest of it, to me, is not something that's so imperative that you learn as far as how to write your decimals and words. I mean, you never do that, so not really that concerned about it. But if you do look at example 3, C, 5.004, and they're writing it in words, and notice what they have, 5 and 4 thousandths. So they have the DTHS at the end. So notice what they did is they didn't do anything with the zeros. They just said the number to the right of the decimal. In this case, the only number there is a 4. You got the zeros, but since they're in front of the 4, you ignore them. So the 4 is in the thousandths place, so you say that. So anyway, back to example 6. It says write each number as a fraction or a mixed number. So if we have 0.004 and they want us to write that as a fraction, we look and see what place value the 4 is in. You always look at the last number, the farthest number to the right, to determine the place value. Well, this is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So you're going to make a fraction and you're going to write 1,000 there because the 4 is in the thousandths place value. And then you're just going to put that number to the right of the decimal, the whole thing, which there's zeros in front of the 4, so they don't count, and you get that. Now when I have something like 3.64, I look and see what place value the 4 is in. And again, tens, hundreds, so it's in the hundreds place value, so I put 100 under there, put a 64 there, and the number to the left of the decimal, I just write next to the fraction. C, 25.4936. So again, place value of that is in the 10,000ths place, so I write 10,000. I put this number above it, everything to the right of the decimal, and this number to the left I just put out in front, and I'm done. So really not too difficult to do. So this is example 7. We're rounding 9,235 and 492 thousandths to the nearest hundred. So if the number, the column, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, etc., if it ends in a THS, then you know that you're talking a decimal. If in this case it says nearest hundred, it ends in the ED of 100, so that means we're rounding this column right there, the hundreds column. And if you remember about rounding, when you're rounding to say the hundreds, you look to the first number to the right of it, and if that number is smaller than 5, then you don't do anything. It's already rounded. The 2 is fine. If this number here is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then this number jumps up. So this would round. If this here were an 8, this would change to a 3, and it would be 9300. Since it's a 3, this number doesn't change, so when we round, we leave the 2 alone, and we just put zeros after that. And of course we have our decimal 0, 0, 0. Everything this way turns to zeros, but since decimal with zeros after it doesn't really amount to anything, we'll just round it to 9200. So again, if we're rounding to hundreds, we look to the right. If that number is less than 5, then we just change everything over here to zeros, and that's it. If the number to the right of the one we're looking at to round is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then we change that to a 3 and make everything zeros. So regardless, we make everything to the right of what we're rounding zeros. It's just whether that 2 changes from a 2 to a 3, or it stays as is. All right, so let's look at example number 8. Now for number 8, they're wanting us to round to the nearest 10,000th. And notice, it ends with DTH. So that means that we're looking to the right of the decimal because we're ending in a TH there. So the 10,000s column, well, let's see, here's the tens, hundreds, thousands. There's the 10,000s column. That's the column that we're looking at. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at the first number to the right, and we see that it's a 6. And remember I said if this number to the right is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then we change this number to the next number up, so that would change to a 5, and everything right to of that number changes to a 0. So let's do that. So we have 0.00, the 3 changes to oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. 3, the 4 changes to a 5, and then everything goes zeros. Now again, when everything goes zeros to the right of a decimal, and there's no other number like a 7 here afterwards, it's just zeros, and it just seems to go on forever, you just get rid of them, because they, it's just a waste of time to put them there, because they don't count for anything, because you're to the right of the decimal point. Okay, so that is lecture 4.1.